The massive crystalline chamber of the Galactic Council fell silent as Ambassador Thexra of the Zephyrian Collective finished reading the report. Her 4 eyes blinked in rapid succession, a sign of deep confusion among her species. The holographic display showed casualty reports, fleet movements, and most shocking of all, the humans' response to the Korthak invasion. "This cannot be accurate," High Counselor Vexitan rumbled, his massive form shifting uncomfortably in the specially designed seat. The granite-skinned Moltharian had overseen the council for 3 centuries, yet he had never encountered anything quite like this. "The translation matrices must be malfunctioning." "I've run the analysis 17 times, Ambassador Thexra replied, her melodic voice trembling slightly. "The humans have declared what they call total war against the Korthak Empire. They're mobilizing their entire species." A collective gasp echoed through the chamber. The assembled representatives of 47 species exchanged worried glances. The diminutive Pixari delegate, barely visible in her hover chair, squeaked in alarm. Even the stoic, crystalline hierarchs began resonating at frequencies that indicated distress. "But surely they understand the mathematics," interjected Counselor Zephyr, his tentacles writhing anxiously. "The Korthak Empire spans 14 star systems, their fleet numbers in the tens of thousands. Humanity controls barely 3 systems and perhaps a few hundred vessels at most." Ambassador Thexra consulted her datapad again, her expression growing more bewildered. "According to our intelligence reports, the humans are aware of these numbers. Their response was—" She paused, struggling to find appropriate words. "They said, and I quote, 'Good. That means we won't run out of targets.'" The chamber erupted in confused chatter. Representatives spoke in dozens of languages, their translation devices working overtime to keep up with the cacophony of disbelief. High Counselor Vextan raised his massive hand for silence. "Perhaps we should review what we know of human military doctrine. Surely they have some secret weapon, some advantage we're unaware of." The Council's military advisor, General Kriksta of the Talon Fleet, activated the central display. Her avian features were sharp with concentration as she began her briefing. "Human military technology is adequate, not primitive, but certainly not advanced by galactic standards. Their ships are roughly equivalent to early Zephyrian designs. Their weapons are kinetic-based projectiles and basic energy arrays. Nothing remarkable." "Then what are they thinking?" demanded the Pixari delegate, her tiny voice amplified by the chamber's acoustics. "This is suicide!" General Kriksta's feathers ruffled, a sign of unease. "That's where it gets interesting. We've been monitoring human communication since they declared war. They're not acting like any species facing extinction should act." The display shifted to show intercepted human transmissions. Images of massive factory complexes working around the clock, civilian populations volunteering for military service, and perhaps most disturbing of all, children as young as 12, requesting to join what humans called their war effort. "They've converted their entire civilization into a war machine," General Kriksta continued. "Every factory, every resource, every citizen is now focused on a single goal, the complete destruction of the Korthak Empire." Ambassador Thexra pulled up another report. "Our cultural analysts are equally baffled. When other species face overwhelming odds, they typically negotiate, flee, or surrender. Humans appear to be doing the opposite. They're becoming more aggressive, not less." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The Korthak Empire was known throughout the galaxy for its ruthlessness. They had conquered 17 species in the last 2 centuries, strip-mining worlds and enslaving populations. Every civilized species had learned to either submit or avoid them entirely. "Have we tried reasoning with them?" asked Counselor Zephyr. "Perhaps if we explain the mathematical impossibility of their success—" "We sent a diplomatic mission," Vextan replied grimly. The human leadership listened politely to our projections and casualty estimates. Then their president said something that our linguists are still trying to understand. You've obviously never met a human Marine. General Kriksta brought up tactical displays of the first engagement between human and Korthak forces. The Battle of Kepler 442b should have been a massacre. 50 Korthak dreadnoughts against 12 human vessels. Our projections indicated total human annihilation within 6 standard hours. The display showed the battle's progression, and gasps echoed throughout the chamber as the impossible unfolded before their eyes. The humans didn't retreat when their shields failed, General Kriksta narrated, her voice filled with something approaching awe. They rammed damaged ships into Korthak vessels. When their weapons were destroyed, they used their ships as kinetic weapons. One human captain deliberately flew his crippled vessel into a Korthak carrier, destroying both ships but saving his fleet. Madness, whispered the Pixari delegate. The Korthak commander requested reinforcements after losing 23 ships, General Kriksta continued. His report described human tactics as incomprehensible and without regard for self-preservation. He couldn't understand why they wouldn't surrender when facing certain death. Ambassador Thexra activated another display. But here's what has us truly concerned. Since that battle, human military recruitment has increased by 300%. They're not demoralized by losses. They're inspired by them. High Counselor Vextan studied the reports with growing unease. In 3 centuries of leadership, he had seen species rise and fall, witnessed countless conflicts, and observed the predictable patterns of galactic warfare. Nothing in his experience had prepared him for this. What do our xenopsychologists make of this behavior? He asked. Dr. Yilna, the Council's leading expert in alien psychology, activated her personal display. We've identified what appears to be a unique aspect of human psychology. While most species have evolved to avoid unnecessary conflict, humans seem to possess what we can only describe as an adaptive aggression response. When threatened with extinction, rather than becoming more cautious, they become exponentially more dangerous. More dangerous how? Vextan pressed. They stop following conventional military doctrine entirely, Dr. Yilna explained. They begin employing tactics that no rational species would consider. Ramming, self-destruction, using civilian vessels as weapons platforms. They treat death not as a failure to be avoided, but as an acceptable cost of achieving victory. The chamber filled with uncomfortable silence as the council members contemplated this revelation. They had spent millennia building a civilization based on rational calculation, diplomatic solutions, and the preservation of life. The idea of a species that became more lethal when facing extinction challenged their fundamental understanding of intelligent behavior. There's more, Ambassador Thexra said quietly. Our long-range scouts report that 3 more species have joined the human war effort. The Canine Confederacy, the Ursine clans, and most surprisingly the peaceful Cetacean Collective have all pledged their fleets to what humans are calling the Crusade. General Kriksta's feathers stood on end. If this trend continues, we could be looking at the largest military alliance in galactic history, all united behind a species that doesn't understand the meaning of surrender. High Counselor Vextan rose from his seat, his massive form casting shadows across the chamber. We need to reconsider our position on this conflict. If the humans somehow achieve victory against the Korthak Empire, they will emerge as the dominant military power in this sector. And if they lose? Asked Counselor Zephyr. Vextan studied the tactical displays showing human fleets massing at the edge of Korthak territory. Ships bearing names like Indomitable, Never Surrender, and Remember Earth moved in formations that prioritized offense over defense. In 3 days, the largest battle in galactic history would commence. Based on what we've observed, Vextan said slowly, I don't think humans understand what losing means. As the council session ended and representatives departed to brief their respective governments, one question lingered in every mind. Had they been wrong about what made a species truly dangerous? Perhaps intelligence, technology, and resources weren't the only factors that mattered in galactic warfare. Perhaps there was something to be said for a species too stubborn to know when they were beaten. In 3 days, they would have their answer. The galaxy would discover whether the Korthak Empire's reign of terror would continue, or if humanity's inexplicable refusal to accept defeat would reshape the balance of power forever. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath, waiting to witness what would happen when an unstoppable force met an immovable object, or in this case, when a species that had conquered everything met a species that had never learned how to quit.